Now let's start the show. Step out of the cold. We come from the to the top of the globe.
Welcome to the Everything Culture Podcast. It's your host, G-Jack, along with my co-host,
Mr. D713.
and we have a new co-host in the building today. She's new to the podcast, but not really new. She was on last week. We got Miss HoneyB in the building.
Hey.
All right. And we also have a guest with us today. We'd like to welcome JC. Welcome, JC, to the show.
Special guest, JC.
But so how was your week, man, G-Jack? How did it go?
Man, mine was great, man. Another quick week. You know, work week went by fast. You know, building them houses, knocking them out, ready to start my new neighborhood.
All right. How about you, HoneyB?
Really good week. Got some stuff done. Was productive like always. Earned my check.
And JC, how about yourself?
It was a battle.
Battle.
But I got it done.
Hey, that's what it
Keep
takes.
fighting.
And mine was mighty interesting myself. I would say yesterday I saw an accident in front of me, like right there.
Man, it's like you always see an accident.
I was on the phone with you.
I know within the last month, I've been on the phone with you. You're like, God dang it, let me call you back.
It's just with that 288, man. Every time I'm right at 288, it's an accident. One was myself, but it was an accident, and it was interesting. I saw it was a woman in a Mercedes truck, brand new, very nice, and it was some fellas in a white van with no windows, and I don't know, they were at fault. They hit her, and she jumped out her truck and went to them, and I like, you know what, let me park because I don't know what's gonna happen here, and I just stayed there with her until the law enforcement showed up, and law enforcement never showed up. But I just felt like it was necessary for me to stay. And I saw something really cool that she could have been real nasty towards them and cursed them out, and they could have cursed her out. It could have been really bad. But everybody was very cordial and professional, and they didn't have a driver's license, nor did they have insurance.
Oh, wow.
So
And the police never showed up.
police never showed up.
It never happened.
Yeah. But she took down. I took pictures of license plate. She took pictures of license plate. We got pictures of them. And I stood my distance, but I just let them know I'm there just in case something happened. But she was very thankful for it, and I exchanged information and kept it from there. But just try to be a helpful citizen in the Greater Houston area.
That's
Man,
good.
that's good,
That is, because most people just went on about their day.
Yeah. I could have, trust me, I could have just kept going, but I like, nah. I stopped. I checked with the guys first to make sure they was okay. Then I checked with her, you okay? And she like, can you please stay a little bit? I got you. I'm like, well, it's cool.
Yeah, that's good, man.
That is. Good citizen.
Well, we got a lot of good topics today. As always, we got with our guest on the show. Hey, man, it sounded like you had an eventful week.
Man, yeah, man. Every week's an eventful week, one way or another. We just got to make the best of it.
All right, well, today's show, we got a special guest, Mr. JC, which we already talked about earlier today. As always, with our guest, Mr. D713 is going to do a special segment called The Makings of You.
Yes, so.
Don't use the word, man.
And of course, on The Makings of You, Mr. D713, he asked our guest a few questions, so, you, our audience, kind of get to know him and kind of understand his background and perspective and, where he's coming from.
So, JC, I know I've been knowing you for quite a few years now, man.
Yep.
I would consider you not only a good colleague, but a friend of mine as well.
Thank you.
So once again, thank you for coming on the show. But let's share the rest of the Everything Culture crew, as well as the audience that we have, a little bit about you. So can you tell us about where you're from and how were you raised?
Well, I was born and raised in Houston.
H-Town.
Yeah. H-Town and Bel Air, everything, but B-Town.
Okay.
So, but back before it was what it is now, when we could afford to live there. Was born in 1964. Was actually adopted by my parents.
Oh wow, beautiful.
My sister and I are both adopted, and we grew up fine until I guess what was I 13? 13, my dad decided he needed to leave.
Oh man.
So the family broke apart. My mom was a teacher. My dad was an engineer. Stayed in our lives obviously the whole time and was raised well. But it was a rough teen years. I generally kind of go about apologizing to anybody that knew me between the ages of about 15 and 25 because I was, they all just say, oh, I just remember you were funny. And I'm like, I remember being really angry and kind of, just a jerk.
Yeah.
But no, they all seemed, so I recovered.
Yeah.
Dropped out of high school 3 times.
Wow.
Dang.
I kind of was in that mode of just thought that if my parents after all that time didn't love each other and couldn't figure that out, teachers some of them were kind of screwed up people, and I was kind of like, well, why are y'all teaching me?
Yeah.
And was just kind of kept fighting that. And I kept
Right.
fighting that, and I never really understood. So I dropped out for the last time in my senior year and took my GED and have worked. I mean, I've been working since I was about 11 years old when I threw a newspaper, but I went to work full time and kept working, and finally kind of came back around to understanding that you have to have that education.
Right.
As smart as you think you are, you still have to have the education. You have to have the piece of paper to show people that you're trainable. So I went to University of Houston.
Okay.
Graduated in '95.
Go Cougs,
Go
baby.
Cougs.
Go Cougs, baby.
Still involved there. But graduated from the Center for Entrepreneurship there. Was in the first graduating class. It's now #1 entrepreneurship program in the country.
All right.
Very proud of that, even though it wasn't when I was there. But
You made it that.
yes, exactly. I was the pioneer.
There you go.
We were the guinea pigs. So did that, and then met my wife back then. When I was 28, I guess we first met.
While you in college?
Yeah, I was in college. I finished up college in '95,
Okay.
so 31 when I graduated. And we've been married now for 22 years.
Beautiful, man.
I have a 16-year-old son. Yeah, and actually June 14th, our 27th anniversary of our first date.
Oh, wow,
So,
man.
yeah.
See,
My
that's
wife
a
says,
memory.
she doesn't believe me. I said, no, I remember that date.
Okay.
It was special to me, at least. But,
What was y'all
Yeah.
listening to?
what's that?
What was y'all listening to on June 27th?
We went to Sam's Boat, or Sam's Club used to have this parking lot party on Sundays.
Oh,
My wife was a
Okay.
musician for 26 years, and so
Oh, okay.
weekends she was playing Friday, Saturday nights. I was working at a club called the Satellite Lounge down on Studemont and Heights, or not Studemont, Washington Wall.
Satellite
Okay.
Lounge.
Yeah.
Is it still
It's-
open?
No, it's now a day spa or something next to Star Pizza over there, but next to Rockefeller's, right next to Rockefeller's. And back then, there was a few clubs down there. It was all live music stuff. It was a great time. Washington wasn't what it is now. It wasn't anywhere close to that developed. Everything across the street was all fields. But my wife was playing there. I was bartending. Me and some friends that, they had opened up the bar and asked me to come in and help them out. So I was bartending there. She came in. I kept giving her wine until she said she'd go out with me. So
Oh,
there
wow.
we go.
Persistence.
So the next day I knew they were playing at a club, so I went out to see that. I went out to see her at that club, and she was kind of floored by that, I guess.
I like that.
Yeah,
Like you say,
so-
persistence.
Yeah.
Persistence.
Well, exactly. I'll persist till I succeed. So
Man,
So
that was a lot, man.
So
love
here
it.
we are.
Yeah, so here we are.
And
So,
now so you want to know too what I do for a living? And
yes.
I've been selling real estate for 24 years.
Okay.
I've kind of merged into where I sell, pretty much specialize in land, usually large tracts, some for single family development, some for commercial development, some just farm and ranch. Sold 9,600 acres down on the coast of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, for
Oh, wow.
wildlife refuge land. So, that's what I do now.
Pretty good at what you do.
Yes,
Love it.
thank you.
You said you've been doing that for how long?
I've been selling for 24 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So almost as long as you've been married.
Yeah. Actually, I got licensed before I was married.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Man. So, how was when you were growing up throughout the ages and transitioning? What was your favorite holidays?
I always loved Christmas, man. Christmas is fun.
Christmas. All right. What was your favorite food on Christmas? Or what's your favorite food? Period. Let's just
Yeah.
say that.
My mom's 88, so I know she won't be watching or listening to this. So I'll say
You never know.
she
man.
used to try to do this tenderloin, man, a beef tenderloin. That would be that one thing, and she couldn't cook that thing.
But you had to eat it.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. Can your wife cook it?
No, I cook.
Okay, you're the cook.
I do the cooking at home.
You took
Yeah,
on. Okay.
yeah. Most of it. She doesn't. I'm not saying.
I know
do it
because
all.
your mom couldn't do it because your wife.
No, I learned how.
Right here, man.
Well, see, my mom taught school, and so she on Wednesday nights she made the test, and on Thursday nights she graded the test. She taught junior high math, and so on Wednesday night we would go out or eat at home, and on Thursday night, whichever one of those nights would go out. The other one she always cooked calf's liver because it was quick and easy. Hated calf's liver.
What?
You know what that is.
Calf's liver.
Like a,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a-
it's a cow. It's cow's
Like a
liver.
baby
cow.
cow.
It's nasty. Okay.
Like,
And
how
so
did
I
you-
told
how
her, I
did you
said,
cook
I
it?
don't, so just throw it in a skillet, man, a cast iron skillet. It's just gross stuff.
She put onions on it.
No, I'd coat that
Did she
thing in
fry it,
mustard.
please? Did she batter it?
No,
No, I can eat some gizzards and
No.
lizards, That's like
no, I wouldn't
little
fry
country.
nothing. So anyway, she told me, she goes, well, if you don't like it, cook your own dinner.
Hey, really?
So
Like,
that's
that's
how.
not-
So I taught myself how to cook.
See, you've always had that leadership entrepreneur spirit, man.
Yeah.
Well, I was
It's
just
in
kind of
there.
going, man, okay, I'll cook myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I learned. That's how I taught myself how to cook.
See, now you got me bringing up another topic later for, you learned it on your own. You didn't like the way something was going and you went on, you did it yourself. I respect that so much, man. So, okay, all right. So I'm like, man, if anything else you can think of about the makings of you, G-Jack or HoneyB, like, he's killing it over here. Like,
I think I
I'm
want to save my
flabbergasted.
questions for later.
Okay,
I think
okay.
I learned a lot about you.
Okay.
Man, thank you so much, JC. So back to you, and thank you for the making of you and sharing about your life. We really do appreciate it,
You bet.
man. So, G-Jack?
All right, I just have a question. Miss HoneyB,
Yes.
I know you're new to the show, and a lot of feedback we've been getting is that we don't have a woman's perspective for a lot of our topics and stuff like that. So
Right here I
there's
am.
there's a big thing going on in the news right now. I don't know if you've heard of the basketball dad, LeVar Ball,
Oh, who
and
hasn't
his
heard of
sons.
him?
Well, he was on ESPN this week, and we'll play the clip here in just a moment. So he was on ESPN this week,
Okay.
and he and I forget the lady's name, the other lady that's on the show on First Take with Stephen
Oh,
A.
yeah.
I'll look her up.
And so the way it was set up, of course, we heard in the clip that she asked him, to switch gears, and he said, "Sure, I'll switch gears with you anytime."
Yeah.
But to me personally, when I saw it, I don't think it was sexual. But apparently, ESPN saw it differently, and they banned him from the network. He can't come back on anymore.
They didn't really ban him. They used the verbiage. They had no future plans to work with him. So maybe those plans might can change, right? No, I saw the clip, and I guess my female take on it was that it was sexual comments can be perceived subjectively.
Right.
So she perceived it as a sexual comment, and you could tell by her facial expression. As soon as he said it, she kind of was taken back, even though his expression did not match hers. He was looking down. He didn't have not that he had to have the sexy eyes or whatever to kind of show that it was sexual in nature, but
Right.
it's so hard to say, you know how he is, because I feel
Right.
like that kind of perpetuates the culture of, men can say whatever they can, that's just who he is. No,
Right.
you have to respect women. However, I feel like her reaction led to it being more sexual in nature than maybe he really intended.
Right.
And I think that it was detrimental on his future based off of something that could have been perceived. So, like, if you look at all the comments, because I went on ESPN, I saw the clip, and you scroll down the comments, and I mean, people were appalled. Both female and male were like,
Right.
hey, it wasn't even that serious.
Right.
She took it that way. He didn't mean it that way. Everybody knows him. He was just joking. But at the same time, as a woman, it's like, if we believe stuff is so sexual in nature, when men stop working with us, does that have an impact on, okay, we can just perceive anything and it's going to have an impact on you?
Right.
So I didn't think it was that serious. I wasn't there. I understand it's a subjective thing, but I don't believe that their actions lined up to what actually happened, in my opinion.
That makes sense. Well, what do you guys think? What's your opinion on
Give
this?
it to our guest first, JC.
I didn't see it. I mean, I don't see how you derive, sexual nature out of what he said and the tone that he used to say it. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
And I think that we keep pushing things down the road too far, And at some point in time, you know, it's like, when are we going to stop being offended? I mean, when are you going to, you know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I take it that people that get offended in that way just are just, I don't know if they have low self-esteem or what it is.
Sensitive.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I don't mean to, you know, you don't want to jump out and offend people. I don't want to go around offending everybody.
Right.
But occasionally I'm going to say something that might be stupid, might be not meant the way you take it.
Right.
But if you just jump down and get offended by everything that's said, you're going to have a rough life, man.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Mr. D713, how do you feel?
Man, after watching the video, I didn't see it as well. And on Twitter, I saw so many people do the opposite. They were going at LeVar. They were saying, "Oh, I can't believe he did it." I think her name is Molly Queerim or something like that. Karam.
Oh, yeah, I know it's Molly.
Erim. And supposedly she's engaged to what NBA former basketball
Jalen
player?
Rose.
Jalen Rose, and somebody like Jalen Rose would kick his ass down the hallway. And it was like, I don't, like I said, I can see how she felt offended, but he didn't make eye contact with the camera. He didn't wink. He kind of just shrugged it off. And if you watched anything with LeVar Ball in the past, that's how he talks. That's how he is. He's a very casual, laid back, go with the flow. And the one thing I haven't seen is his perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know if he apologized or even said it.
Well, he said he hadn't apologized yet.
Well, no, LeVar Ball, he probably didn't apologize because he didn't mean it. But, it's a certain way to go by it. But why would he hit on a woman that he's happily married? That's why.
And his life is all on TV with his wife.
Right.
Why would you do it? It's on the camera, but it's just, once again, I think sensitivity training need to be on both sides. Because how much training do people? Because you have to worry about people who could be sensitive over every single thing. And it's like, relax.
But I guess, how would you approach that though? Like, how would you approach the sensitivity training on telling people how to receive
Not be
something like
sensitive.
and not be sensitive?
Like people are going to joke with you, and it could have been taken. I mean, I literally think it was a joke. That's my whole thing. Yeah, or just his
I think
personality.
they're just trying to change the
I
subject.
think if it was
Trying
a
to
guy
be
that
clever.
said it, if it was a guy that said it, I think he would have just said the same thing. I don't think he said it because it was a woman. That's how I feel. And I don't think he was meant to hit on her.
And I think he's a married man. Like, nobody is considering the fact that he knew his wife was going to be watching this.
Yeah, don't get me
It
wrong,
wasn't that
married
he
men
would.
will cheat.
I know, married, but I'm saying, are you really going to say that on ESPN? Like, your wife isn't going to watch it? Like, you sit up here trying to flirt with somebody in front of everybody.
And once again, with everything with his body language, it didn't seem that way. But her body language, like, oh my,
Right.
and it's like,
I'm offended. I can't believe you would repeat exactly what I just said.
and
How sexist.
Stephen A, I can say he
Yeah.
kind of, I wouldn't say threw fuel on the fire, but his look was kind of like, man,
Right.
I think he looked like he was kind of like,
But
I
they
didn't
were
hear
arguing.
nothing, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if LeVar said something crazy, you know?
Right. And they were already arguing on the topic. But it's like one of the things you want to say, relax, because it's a two-way street. I work in a predominantly field with women for years, and women say inappropriate things as well. And I'm like, you know what, they didn't mean it, or I don't feel like I'm going to be harmful, but I've heard some things that, like, it shouldn't be said. Even if it was towards me or not towards me, but I've seen things both sides. But it's like with this situation in particular, I don't think it should go to the point where he was, I'm going to say, banned or they don't want to have any future interest with him. Also, I just have that, I have some conspiracy theories, but he's doing so much for his family, and his son just got traded, and I don't know if they just don't want him to have that light, or it's something with the NBA, because he's doing, if all three of his sons go to the NBA and possibly play on the same team, I think a lot of people would be set back by that.
Yeah.
And it's just because I've never seen, and that's what he said, never seen before. Now, his oldest boy and his youngest boy have talent. The middle one, but
He said it was hurt, and he steals.
he does.
That kind of messed him up when he got caught stealing.
Because that goes almost into tampering. That's how I'm looking. And that's why I think they're trying to solve it another way. Because if they remove his daddy, the father from the situation, because he's the main one pushing it. And they're going to say, that's really going to prevent his other, maybe the middle boy from making it. I think the younger boy is going to make it to the NBA. But I think he's a big push for his sons and owners. Because look what happened with the Lakers. He said he knew Magic was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Never lost, always right. He called it.
Right, but I have one question. So because his son got moved to another team. Not that things are good or bad in the Ball family, but once they back at the top, aren't they gonna bring him back on because he's ratings, he's money?
Oh yeah.
Like right now, we're like, at the end of the clip, I want to point out that she said something about like, you're not the only one that's going to go to HR, or something about going to HR about him. So I think she personally was offended by it, whether or not it should have been there. But I mean, if she was, maybe she did go to HR or whatnot. But I think it's right now. That's why I said I don't think he was banned. They just said they don't have any plans for him in the future.
Yeah.
I think if some more stuff happened and he's money, they're going to bring him back on there because he's going to be ratings.
Yeah.
He's always been ratings. Why do you think he was on there that day?
That's true.
Yeah, he's exciting to
Hey,
watch.
wait,
He was knowing
start-
it first,
yeah.
but he's exciting to watch.
He's excited to watch. He's money. He's ratings. They'll bring him back on their watch.
I can see that. I hope so.
Yeah. All right.
Well, let's switch gears to another topic. All right, so Corey, with you being in real estate,
Yep.
I want to hear some crazy stories, man. Some crazy real estate stories, man. Like, what's the worst experience you've had with a client, or some of the crazy stuff that they've had you do to earn their business?
Don't have to drop any names.
There's a guy actually who was a defensive coordinator. That guy was something, man. That was the first client I ever fired.
You fired the
Yeah, I
client?
fired him. We went looking all over for a house, and you know, some people had asked me to come help him out because he was moving here to Houston. And this was, 1997, and I was driving a Ford Expedition. It was the first year that they put this Ford Expedition out. I leased this thing mainly to haul people around. And he gets in that thing and he goes, "Well, somebody's paying you, right? You got a $50,000 vehicle." And I was like, "It didn't cost that much, and I'm leasing it, but I don't even understand why that's an issue."
Right.
And he goes, "Well, I know what they paid. You know, I know what they cost." I was like, "Well, I paid for it,
Right.
but why are we having this conversation?" You know, and it was just kind of, you got off on that wrong foot, and he just kept on and kept on and kept on, man. And I was like, "Dude," so I found him his house. And I go back to write a contract up for it, and I write this contract up, and this is back in the days before email and all these other things were prevalent. So I put this thing together, and I have to go find him, and he's out at this club over by the Astrodome, and I show up there,
Please
man.
don't say characters.
No,
This is 1997. Come
no,
on.
that was a long time ago. So I show up at this club, and I go in, I get him, and he comes out, and we're going to sign this contract on the hood of my truck. And he goes, "Man," he goes, "I just don't think you have a sense of urgency." And it's like 7:30 at night.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I said, "You know," and I put everything back in my briefcase, put my briefcase back in. I said, "You know what?" I said, "You need to find somebody else to help you out because you were just not." I said, I'm not putting up with this." And he looked at me like, "You crazy?" And I said, "Man," I said, "if I had no sense of urgency, I wouldn't be standing in a parking lot by the Astrodome at 7:30 on a Friday night. I'd be having dinner with my wife."
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? And
Ready
it's
to
like,
sign contracts on the hood of your
Yeah.
car. Like, how much more urgent do you need?
Yeah. And so I got home. By the time I got home, he had already called me back to apologize. And I said, "Well, I accept your apology, but I'm still not going to help you."
Right.
And I tell you, you feel like you just have a ton of bricks taken off of you. I mean,
Yeah.
it's relieving. But yeah, no, people, you know, most of my clients are good. I mean, I learned a long time ago that you need to, not everybody deserves your help. You know, and I'm good at what I do. My partner and I are good at what we do. I enjoy what I do, but some people just, if they don't want to listen, if they don't want to, you know, be helped, then there's nothing I can do except for say, "Okay, you know, see ya."
Yeah.
And,
Well, that brings me to one of my questions for you. Why do you believe you are as successful as you are? What are some tips and tricks maybe that helped you get there? Was it somebody or something or education? Help me understand why you're so successful.
Well, humility. You know, when I say I'm good at what I do, I mean that, but not in, you know,
Not a confident comment.
yeah, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I just,
Right.
I'm good at helping people. I'm good at serving people. And I try to remind myself that I need to serve my client. And I'm in a service business. When I got, you know, I did okay for a number of years. but not great. And I was pretty damn arrogant.
Right.
Okay, and when everything hit the fan back in 08, the economy was going downhill. And I'm sitting there going, you know,
I remember 09, yeah.
you know,
I remember all that.
and I would not ask for help. I didn't look for help. I was, you know, I'm me, man. I know what I'm doing. I don't need, you know, I know.
Yeah.
And that took me right into bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wrote a negotiated contract for a parking ride over here. Metro found a loophole and cut me out of the deal. And, you know, and I saved the taxpayers a lot of money with that, but, you know, they thought they needed to save the taxpayers another $80,000, and I got cut out. And I took what little money I made out of that deal and went and hired an attorney and filed bankruptcy, and that was the most humiliating thing I've been through. But
And thank you for sharing.
well, but this is what's made me stronger. It's made me a much stronger and better person.
Got it.
Okay. Well, yeah, and with the help of my wife, you know, God bless her, and with the help and grace of God.
Right.
Because at that point in time is when I picked up the Bible again, and I read that Bible from cover to cover. And I'm now about to finish the fourth time I've read it from cover to cover. And when you've done that and you actually start to see how things mesh together and these type of things, you understand a lot more about life. And I understood, you know, back then at the beginning of that, I was praying, you know, just let me win the lottery, let me get this deal, you know, let me close this thing. I got to pay bills. I got to keep my, you know, food on the fence. You know, I mean, when I told my son we were moving because we were losing the house,
Wow.
whew, you know, and he broke down crying. It was tough.
How old was he?
He was, what was that, 2010 by that point. So he was 7, 8, you know, and it just, you know, you learn a lot from that. And I understood after I got through that point that if God had to save me the first day, I never would have learned anything. And I would have gone back to being the same arrogant, you know, jerk. And so he's got a way of taking that 2x4 to the back of your knees, knocking you down to your knees, showing you who is the boss, who is in control,
Right.
and gives you that humility and you know, changes the way you look at life. And after I changed that way, and I actually had a friend of mine that came to me and said, you know, you're really good at what you do, and I'm not good at that part. I'm good at the, you know, she's great at marketing and just calling people, cold calling, doing that kind of stuff. I'm a problem solver. I fix problems. I fix problems people have with land, with surveys, with title commitments, those type of things. I research, I price, I value things. And so that's what I'm good at. And she said, I need your help. And so the two of us got together, and now we sell way more than we ever did
Wow.
individually.
That
You know?
partnership.
Yeah.
Yin
Yeah.
yang.
And I actually make a lesser percentage of every commission, but I make way more money than I made before.
Wow. I love it.
So, you know, but because you take that step back and you know, you humble yourself and say, hey, you know.
And everything you just said right there is so many life lessons, because not only humbling yourself just from being arrogant, but some people wouldn't, well, I'm not getting that much of a cut. If I don't get this much, I'm out.
Yeah.
But you're doing so much better with, like you said, with the cut that you have.
I had a guy that came in to work for us. You know, he came to be a buyer's agent for us. And, you know, we're giving him leads, and he closed his deal, and he took off with all these leads. Didn't pay us. Didn't pay the cut because he thought we were getting too much money. And you're like, you don't understand how hard it is. But B, you know, my partners put all this money into marketing and all this time and effort into marketing.
Marketing is a lot.
It is.
Marketing is a lot.
Well, she has that name though now.
Yes.
You know, you have the name. People, if you need land, you know who to call.
Right.
Type of thing. And that's why the phone rings. That deserves money. That deserves pay. Okay? And he didn't get that at that time. And he's called me since, and he's like, you know, man, I'm sorry. You know, you really helped me out a lot and everything. And you're kind of like, well, that's fine, but you know, my kids got to eat. You know, so what's your problem?
Yeah. Integrity.
Yeah, but it's, you know.
And I love how you just go back with your relationship with God as well. and that because I have that same walk and path, but I don't know how other people. I talk to them all the time. You know, I feel like I'm crazy, but if I feel like I'm making a mistake or I need a direction or something, I was just at the grocery store today just looking for spices, and I was like, just chop it up with them, talk to them, and it just with those times like say reading the Bible, going back to him, seemed like you get led astray, and he will find a way to get your attention again. Come on back to me. So I think a lot of guys, and I think you may say he was in your 30s or 40s when that happened, with the bankruptcy or.
Well, that was my mid 40s.
And it's a troubling time. It's something, but you come back and it's just a blessing that he can pull you back, even with your childhood. Because when you said that was your second time going to the Bible, but
that's probably more than that. But it's we stray, we turn our backs and stray away. But that's what brought you back. It's what I needed. And I needed to learn what was important, and what's more important than a house is family.
Yeah.
I have a wife that for some reason loves me still.
Been through
I have a kid that drives me nuts because he doesn't listen to anything I say, but he's still a good kid, and I have good friends, and so there's nothing. I mean, you ask, well, what would I not want? What would offend me? Nothing. I'm me. I know who I am now.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the main part. I guess a lot of adults don't know who they are yet. It takes a while sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes you have to have that humbling moment too, though. To kind of get the pressure off of everything. Because I bet once you had to go through that and you had to file for bankruptcy and everything, it was kind of like it felt bad, but it was also like a weight lifted off your shoulders. Kind of like the pressures of...
When I finally admitted defeat, yes. Yeah. Fighting, I fought and fought and fought. And then when I finally admitted defeat and started over,
You just come back refreshed. New you. Yeah. New ideas.
Well, I know nothing can stop me.
All right. So, and touch on something how our relationship began is going into volunteerism and mentoring. So, why did you get into volunteering?
Well, I mean, I guess can we talk? Child advocates, we know that? We cut that out?
Let's cut that out.
Okay.
But just say what you get into. You can talk about it just, but dropping the name. Later on we can, most likely.
Well.
Did you stop it? All right, so you mentioned 22 years of marriage. That in itself, I bet has a bunch of great stories, appears successful. But one of my questions that I had, you previously mentioned about your parents getting divorced. And I'm always curious about how that transitioned into your marriage now. Do you think that had any impact?
Yes.
How?
And her parents were divorced too. I think you don't want to go down that same path. I saw some of the things that they did, especially my father. My father was a good man, smartest man I've ever met in my life. Was an engineer and worked on things in drilling in the Arctic and stuff like that people weren't dealing. I mean, he was charting new territories,
right,
and things that most people wouldn't understand. And it drove him nuts that people couldn't understand these things. And it just really, he came from a tough childhood too. His father died when he was 10. And, he grew up with a mom and an aunt. And alcoholics, he was an alcoholic. But he never could come to grips with himself as a person. And he hated himself in a lot of ways. And, it's sad. And, so no, I didn't want to be that way.
That's so, I guess there's two paths. There's people who've seen their parents get divorced and realize they made it. And we're like, well, divorce is always an option. If times get tough, I can always leave. And then there's those like you who are like, divorce is not an option. I've been through it. I don't want my kids to go through it. I don't, I know how to fight. I thought, my parents should have fought. Was there any time in your marriage where you felt like, okay, you know, the ups and downs. Everybody knows that marriages has those. Was there ever an opportunity where you were like, maybe?
No, not me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have blamed her if she left.
No, she seems like a great woman.
She is. No, she's fantastic.
Hype her up.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I'm just saying. No, I'm saying, but no, you know, if she had left, I would have had a leg to stand on.
Right.
You know, and it would have been my fault. You know, I mean, when I went through that period, my son was trying to go, oh, well, you know, it's the economy, it's the, you know, it's Obama, it's the president. You know, I'm like, no, it's not. Me.
Yeah.
Me. It's the choices I made put me on the path I was on, and the choices I made got me off of that path. My choices.
Yep.
Yeah.
My responsibility, my proactivity or reactivity. I'd rather be proactive than reactive, but the way I reacted back then was bad.
Right.
And so, no, I mean, I've never thought I wouldn't screw that up if.
All right. Well, tell me some tips on longevity in marriage.
Find somebody that puts up with you.
I guess there's more guys.
Well, exactly. I mean, but I'm a guy.
Women too.
But as a guy, I don't listen well. I don't, don't necessarily communicate great. But she's an understanding woman. And a
Y'all
good
still
one.
dating?
We do. We had date night last week.
Okay.
I try to do it more often than we do, but you get with a kid and jobs and all that kind of stuff. We get sidetracked, but yeah, we try to have date nights.
Me and my wife started just calling in sick. We just pick them up, both call in sick from work, and just have a date night during the day.
There you go.
We got small kids, so it's hard to find a babysitter.
Boy, snitching on
Well,
You got
well,
to.
it's we don't have any grandparents anymore, so but the kid's 16 now, so he can go.
Yeah. Well, let me take that back. We don't call it sick. We take a personal day.
Right. Sick of work.
Same thing.
Sick of work. That's what I tell people. You can call it sick of work.
Well, exactly. If you don't take time off, you're not going to be good to anybody.
Right. Exactly.
And that got me thinking, when you bring up the kiddo, and something the fellas talked about in the previous episode was when guys, usually, it's not even about ethnicity, it's about I think it's more males. When you hit a certain age, did you, you wanted to move out the house?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I was 19, I was like, I'm out,
I'm already 14.
Exactly, that's what you're saying, I'm getting out. So, now you
I got
have,
another funny part of that. Keep on.
but you got your kid now, and he's getting age, and we talk about it quite often, but would you mind if your son wanted to stay with you, while he was in college, or come back for a little bit, or you feel like, okay, you're at this age, it's time to fly the coop?
If he's in college, he can stay with me.
Okay.
Absolutely. No, the funny part I was going to say is that I was living with my dad when I told him I was dropping out of high school last time, and was going to.
I can imagine how that
wasn't going to go to college, and he was
cool.
Well, cool to an extent.
Okay.
He just said, he goes, but he came, so you're going to work, huh? And I said, yeah. He goes, you got a job? And I said, yeah. And he goes, good. He goes, my sister was graduating at that time and from college. And he goes, I'm taking her on a trip, and when I get back, I'll help you move. And I just kind of looked at him, and he goes, yeah. He goes, if you're going to go to college, you can stay in my house. If you're going to be a man and work, be a man.
Get your own spot.
Bye.
Wow.
There you go. And it's the best thing he could have done for me.
Agreed.
And I tell my son that now. I tell him, I said, look, I said, you thinking, because he gets this attitude now that high school's just pass fail. And I'm like, yeah, no, the GPA kind of makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I said, the choices you're making now are going to determine how good your choices are in 2 years when you graduate. I said, because one way or the other, in 2 years, you're out the door.
Yeah.
You can go to college, or you go get a job and you're out on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not saying that I'm going to throw him out on the street,
Yeah.
but,
And I was looking like it can be two kings of the castle, it can be two queens as well. And my aunt always had that as long as you don't go to jail, get a girl pregnant, and while you at least working in college, you can stay with me. But she was also, you have to pay bills in the house as well. So I was like, I've realized at the age I'm paying my own car insurance. I pay my own cell phone, my own car note. And I'm like, nah, I can do this probably on my own. And I like, let me just go out here and get it. But I see a lot of with millennials and Generation Z that's coming up that they feel like I should stay with my parents no matter what. If I'm working or not, you should give me that support.
HoneyB, how were your parents when it came to getting out the house at 18?
We both went to college. I have a twin sister, so they dropped us off at college. We were there for 4 years, and I went back and tried to get my master's and stuff like that. And then when I tried to come home, they were like, "Nope, you got it."
You go.
They said, "Be gone." I mean, they were very supportive of me making a way. Not that they didn't want me to come back to their house. They wanted me to understand that I was now in the world, and I had to figure that out. And I mean, not to tell on my sister, but she had a little financial difficulties, and I remember they were like, "No, you can't come home, but we'll ensure that you don't have difficulties that hunt you later on financially, where it's hurting your credit score." And I remember they gave her a loan, not $1 million loan, so a small loan that she did repay back. And I mean, they helped her out because they knew the impact if she would have gotten some debt, if she would have had bad credit. She paid them back. She got back on her feet, and they were like, "You got to learn how to make it." And not that I agreed or disagreed with it. I would say now I disagree with their approach. In hindsight, I'm with you. If you're in college, if you're doing good, I would probably let my child stay. Financial reasons more than anything, but I get 2 kings, 2 queens of the house. But if you're minding my rules and things of that nature, I don't mind.
Now, JC has a boy. You have one child, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have 2 children.
I do. I do have 2.
Is it a boy and a girl?
I have a boy and a girl.
Okay. So, with the boy,
This is right.
what if he's like, "All right, Mom, I want to stay. I'm going to college," but he's like 28 years old, still in college?
I think everybody takes different paths.
Yeah.
I even heard JC's path, and it was unorthodox, but he made his way. So I don't believe that it's an age. I think it's an attitude.
Okay.
I think that I would be supportive as a parent because that's my role, is to support you. And as long as you are doing what you have to do, and I know that there's some end goal, you cannot come and stay with me without a goal. Like, is your goal to get out of school and then you're going to move into a career path or go into a trade? Something that I know that I'm not being your crutch because I'm not going to be here forever. So my goal is to get you to be a productive citizen.
Let me ask you about this question real quick.
Yeah.
I'll interrupt you real quick. I'm gonna ask you but the thing about it is, when I see this happen so much when the parents become that crutch.
And that's why you have to set your expectations.
You got the uncle still staying with granny for the past 40, 50, like he 50 now. And it's like, damn, it's like, I want to
But there has to be a parent setting that expectation. Like, your dad set that expectation for you. He said, okay, now you're going to get a job. And you said yes, and you said, well, I'll help you move. But the expectation was if you would have went to college, you could have stayed.
Yeah, and actually when I went back to college, when I finally realized I needed to go to college, they did help me through that process as well.
Exactly.
And I mean, my mom had saved up some money. My dad did, they got divorced, but she still had a percentage of some land he had. And when it sold, she put that money into a trust for my sister and I. And it wasn't huge money, but I called her when I wanted to go back to college, and I said, I can't do this part-time, because I was going part-time. I was going night school, and part-time. When I had money, I'd go, and I didn't, I'd drop out. And so I called her and I said, I got laid off in the, back then it was the Persian Gulf War, so 91, everything went to recession. And I called her and I said, I got to finish this college thing. So just take that money, I'm going to work, but send me, pay the tuition and send me $500 a month. And that's what she did. And $500 back then would cover your rent and a little bit more with a roommate. And then, so that's, but they came back when I finally, like you say, when I had that goal and I said, this is what I need to do. Yeah, they were there to support that.
Let me ask you guys this though. With the new generation, I guess, what is it, Generation Z that's in college right now? A lot of them aren't really going to college. A lot of them are going the entrepreneur route. What if your child came to you and said, hey, I have a business plan, I got a goal, an idea, but I can't afford to stay on my own, but I do have a business that I want to start?
I'm for that too. I don't think that there's a traditional road to success. And as you're seeing, like you said, more people are moving into the entrepreneurship role. It's still a goal. You tell me what you're trying to do. If you're trying to start this business, I'm here to support you. And I don't believe everybody should go to college. I don't believe college has a curriculum to teach people everything they need to know. I think that there's different trades that are out there. I feel like there are different life lessons that you can have that can make you more successful than going to college. And I think college sets you up for being staff. I think college doesn't set you management, but not an entrepreneur or not into certain different roles that you want to be in your life. So I wouldn't sit here and say, you know, college is the only way. I would say there is a road to success. Let's sit down, let's talk. If I'm supporting you, I need to understand your maybe your path, and not that I have to agree, but I need to know that as a parent, I'm going to, you know, you need to know that as a parent, I'm going to support you. And if it's giving you a place to stay so that you can, you know, lower your finances or things of that nature, I'm fine with that. Supportive.
So even if it's to the 35 years old,
No,
that's
that's not our goal. That's not our goal.
It's a long-term goal.
long-term business
It's a
plan.
long-term goal.
Yeah, that's a bad business. You need to,
Your
you need to
payback
go back
period
and learn how to
is-
write that.
And when HoneyB, when you said your parents gave your sister a loan,
Right.
that is very responsible for them, showing her as well responsibility going
Right.
forward. Because a lot of these parents giving kids grants that's never going to come back. Just saying.
I mean,
Like-
my parents were pretty hardcore. Like I explained to you guys, they were, not to tell who my dad was, but he was an assistant deputy director for juvenile probation. So I grew up with someone who understood the judicial system.
Gotta take no shit.
Yeah, didn't he? And I think he saw so many people getting caught up in bad ways that he tried to prevent it.
Yeah.
And I remember when we went to college, we pledged a sorority. My sister didn't do so good. At that point, sorry sister, putting all your business out there. She got, I know, she got a D. My parents stopped paying for her school.
Damn.
It was our junior year.
But-
She got a D. They literally stopped paying for her school and said, take out loans. I'm not paying for this. I sent you to school for college. I did not send you to school for that extracurricular stuff. And my dad he's in a fraternity too, so he understood what we were doing that semester. But however, it was hardcore. I'm not paying for that. If you want to go to school, continue, put your money where your mouth is.
And it's a beautiful thing. They could pay for it as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, man.
That was the biggest blessing my parents ever did. When I left out of undergrad, I had absolutely no student loans. I had no debt. Side note.
Yeah, no, that's a whole different thing. That's a whole
other topic. I had no student loans.
Jesus.
But they stayed for me. Thank
That's
you,
good,
parents.
man. That's good.
Love y'all for that.
Shout out. Man, and something we're going forward to, next to the thing I know, how I know JC is from the work I've done and with volunteerism. So with JC, how did you get into volunteering and mentoring in your life, and why?
Well, the organization we're both with,
Yeah.
we, I'd heard about them for quite a while, and it's always something that kind of stuck in the back of my head as something I wanted to do. I'd worked for or volunteered with other organizations, Crisis Hotline, used to work to midnight to 4 a.m. or they call me the night owl.
I remember you telling me about
Yeah,
that.
they call you in when they couldn't find anybody else to cover phones because we cover phones 24/7, 365. And so,
Great resource.
I was
going through something.
Yeah, I was bartending in college and working my way through college. So you call me up and say, hey, can you be here at 2 a.m. to 6? Yeah, sure, because I was just getting off.
Yeah.
So anyway, but you never really saw what the end of those situations were, and so it wasn't as fulfilling. But I as we were talking about when I got humbled, I realized I needed to give back,
Right.
and to that's the appropriate thing to do.
Right.
And so that's when I answered that call for our organization and the work we do with kids is, you see every day exactly what we're doing and how well it works.
And as far as with the volunteering, it's not difficult to say. So why do you keep doing it? Well, I would say it is difficult to say. It's not easy to say. Like, why do you keep doing it?
Because somebody has to.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to, and if and you and I have had this conversation too.
Yeah.
That if I won the lottery tonight, I'd say I would do it full time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd volunteer full time. I still wouldn't be enough to cover it all.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping, and you know, you send me out on speaker engagements to go try to recruit other people, because as I've told you, I need to find other me's, people like me,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
to
Like
because if we can get enough me's to do it,
Right.
and we can, you know, we can cover it.
So is that difficult to get more youth to
Yes.
volunteer?
Yeah, because
Why?
because people are scared of what we do.
Is there a way that you can just give them a taste, and I think they'll be hooked? You know, give them a little blue magic. Maybe they'll keep coming back.
And when people hear volunteering, they're like, hell no. I'm just being honest. Like, I'll go out and do these engagements. I have one tomorrow in the morning. It's like I've seen some, and I can say in certain communities, they're like, I'm not getting paid. Don't talk to me.
Okay.
You know, not at all. I'm like, but this child is going through these things. You know, it's just a little bit of time out your day, a phone call, an email, going to like these things. You're gonna help change your life.
So what is the commitment?
For the volunteer.
Well, for the program that y'all are doing, like if someone, you know, one of our listeners wanted to know, what is a typical commitment per week?
The commitment, okay, and once again, I am the recruitment individual there, so it's 2 to 5 hours a week.
Oh,
I would
wow.
say 8 to 20 hours a month.
And you're saying people won't make 2 to 5 hours a week?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not coming out judging these people, because I understand it's a busy time of your life, and I want to make sure when you make that commitment, you stick to that commitment. I don't want you jumping off, because this is a commitment for a year to a year and a half for this child, and it's for this family. So when you say, you know, you're sworn in by a judge, you come on and you're appointed to that child to represent their best interest, please don't, you know, be another adult in their life that has failed them.
That lets them down.
Yeah, it fails them, and that's when I know when Coy was mentioning he seen what's going on with his family that affected him, what was going on with his teachers in high school. That's how I felt when I was growing up as well. I've had adults fail me in my life. So that's why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, helping these children in need, because these kids have, you know, their mother and father is the one that's not representing their best interests, is doing what's needed for them. Why in the world should I listen to any other adult out here in this world, you know? So, you know, with the volunteers, and I'm, you know, commend you again for sticking through there, man, because it's a lot of work, man, because these kids do not see consistency in their life. I mean, they see all the things that you can imagine, things you see on Lifetime Movie Network, the things you see on Tyler Perry. I tell my wife and my friends, I don't watch dramas, man. I can't tell you any Tyler Perry movie. I can't. Seriously. Because
you live in it.
Yeah, you go downtown to these courthouses, sit in the back of the court, you hear the craziest stuff.
So JC, why?
Why do I do it?
Yeah. Why do you continue to do it?
Because nothing pisses me off more than people that get taken advantage of that don't have a voice. You know, because they can't stand up and speak. So that means either children or animals.
Yeah.
And
or the elderly too.
Yeah, the elderly now.
I can't do that.
Absolutely.
I can't.
Yeah, but no, so I'm in the children path. You know, I mean, you know, it's no, I somebody's got to stand up and say something.
If you could depict the joy you feel from the volunteerism that you do, how would you describe it?
Well, I'll tell you, you know, it's funny. People, when most volunteers, and I help train volunteers now too. I talk to the new classes, and you know, I tell them when you go to court, there's nothing to be scared of. You know, we're coming from a place of power because I am the only one in that child's life who's not paid to be there. You know, the judge, even the Mr. D's over here of the world, they're paid to be in his life. It doesn't mean they're bad people, but they're paid to be there.
We're not
I'm not
paid that well, so we're there.
But I'm not there. I'm there because I want to be there, and it gives you this power as you go in there. But I had a judge one time look at me and he goes, "It's always like it when you're in my courthouse." I was like, "Hey, why is that?" He goes, "Because you're always smiling like you're having a good time." I was like, "Well, hell, why not? Let's go. You know, we got a job to do. Let's get it done."
Yeah.
And you know, so it's that. Dee and I had the opportunity to see one of our kids graduate from high school, and you know, that's all he wanted to do was graduate high school and go to college. He's now in college.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just finished his sophomore year.
Congrats to him.
And, you know, it's, you know that you've done something. And I've had plenty, you know, we talked earlier when we were off mic about one of the kids that, you know, I mean, he's in and out of prison now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you don't win them all.
Right.
Yeah.
But I know that kid can't look back and say, well, he didn't try.
Right.
He didn't help me. I put him on the right path. He just didn't walk it.
And I would say that kid went through a lot. It was like one of the moments that we didn't get to him in enough time. Like we were talking about his mother was a piece of work. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and she was one of the mothers that was so drug addicted, manipulative, and she had issues in her past life as well. But it was one of the things that he needed that guidance, he needed that mentoring. But by the time, you know, Corey and myself, but especially Corey got in life, I won't say we did what we could do, especially Corey could, but I can say while Corey was in his life, made such a difference to as far as having a connection. He would have outbreaks and tantrums in residential treatment centers, or those are like the campuses for children, which is not like a foster home. And they know nobody else can calm him down except for his volunteer. Wow. That consistent person as well.
So, all right, so the work you guys do is more like mentoring children, correct? Or just?
No, I'm gonna say that's a latter part. I would say that's maybe a secondary, thirdary thing. You don't have to. Mainly is going to court and testifying what's in the best interest of the child. So you're kind of like another set of eyes and ears for the judge.
But it's a plus to mentor and kind of help them out at the same time.
When they're that age, yeah.
Correct.
And I mean, that's, you know, I kind of rotate between different ages.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've just got off a stint of a number of 1 to 4 year olds.
Oh, wow.
And I'm very passionate about those. I'm actually very, you know, I've been told sometimes I'm a little too passionate about it because
Gotta
the
pull
kid
it back a little bit.
Well, because
What's
the kid,
too passionate?
but the kid we're talking about, he was, by the time I met him, he was 13. When you read his file, the first time he came into the orbit of CPS, he was 5, and they found him wandering in a parking lot, playing at a dumpster at his apartment complex. Okay, but they kept giving him back to mom. So now when I come up with a 4-year-old, and mom says she's going to change and she's going to do it better, well, you got a lot to prove to me, man.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I see these kids 10 years down the road if you don't. And so if you're not going to get it together, I have a chance now when this kid's 4 years old to put him on a path that's going to change his life completely.
Yeah.
And give him a real chance. And so, no, I'll battle.
Yeah.
But I can't mentor a 4-year-old. A 3-year-old can't tell me, why are you so angry? You know, why are you hurt? What happened? And so then I go to the teens. And yeah, I mean, the teens is, and they are. But I mean, you know, I think it's part of the, you know, with the teens, it's more of a showing them that, especially a man, is not a bad person. And this is what a man should be. And that let's, you know, I'm here to help you. I'm here to back you. I'm here to support you. You're not always going to like what I have to say.
Right.
You know, I mean, our boy, one time he got put to this new RTC, and he was mad because they wouldn't give him his phone, because they had a rule that you have to go 2 weeks before you get your phone. 2 weeks with no problems. And he's like, man, I need my phone. And I looked at him and I said, excuse me? And he goes, you're my guy. You're supposed to do what I want. I was like, what am I here for? And he looks at me and he goes, for my best interest. And I said, exactly. And I said, you can tell by how upset I am about you not having a phone. Well, should let you know where I think that on the level of what is in your best interest, where that is, okay? You know, you don't get to break the rules, so that's that. And, you know, sometimes they don't like what you say, but they always know that I'm there. I'm there for them. And as long as they don't lie to me about things, you know, because I'll tell them, I said, I'm like a gun, okay? I'm a tool.
I remember you said that to him in the courthouse.
Yeah, well, I just told them, I'm a gun. I'm a tool. If somebody is coming at you, if somebody's trying to harm you, you point me at them and you pull the trigger. And I come out, it's going to be messy, it's going to be loud, it's going to be noisy, but you better make sure you point me at the right person, and you better make sure it's right, because once I'm out, you can't put me back in, okay? And if I mess up and this person was not problem, then you and I have no more trust,
Right.
and I can't do that for you ever again.
Wow.
I love it.
That's good stuff, man. We're glad to have you here on the show. Appreciate your time and everything. Everybody get up for JC for stopping by today.
And as always, man, thank you for everyone being on the show. You know, thank you for our guys behind the camera as well. AJ back here, baby, man. And but I want to say, you know, you guys mean so much to all of our followers, all our supporters, man. And you know, I want to make sure that you can follow us on our Instagram at Everything Culture, as well as our Facebook on Everything Culture, Twitter, Every THG Culture, as well as go to our website at www.everythingculture.com, and now you can check us out on YouTube as well. So we're all over the place.
Everywhere.
Hey, you can find us on all platforms, baby. But man, anything y'all want to say? Any shout outs?
No, I appreciate y'all having me, man. You know, it's good
I
time.
want to shout out his wife. Woo!
Yeah. Well, absolutely. My wife, my son, my family.
All right. GJ.
Hey, same here. I want to shout out my wife too. She always say I don't bring her up, so shout out to my wife, Miss GJ.
Shout out to Mrs. 713. Y'all ain't about to do me like that.
Oh, Mr. HoneyB.
Thank you. All right. And as always, you know, we're here for this reason because the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King said that men hate each other because they fear each other, and they fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because of segregation and miscommunication. Here on this show is to bridge that gap of communication so we can start to love one another. Peace.